Good evening, everyone. The special board meeting of February 2nd, 2017 is now called to order.
Good evening. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act and JSA 1046 et sec, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by advertising in the Star Ledger newspaper and by distribution to the administrative offices of the Newark Public Schools. A copy of the meeting notice was also forwarded to City Hall for posting. This is a special board meeting for Wednesday night, February 2, 2017.
Thank you. Please rise for the flag salute.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Chair Baskerville-Richardson.
Present.
Ms. Carter.
Present.
Ms. Fonseca.
Present.
Ms. Gaddy.
Present.
Mr. Jackson.
Present.
Mr. Lewis.
Present.
Ms. Owens.
Present.
Mr. Padilla.
Present.
Mr. Salinger.
Present.
Quorum is present, Madam Chair. Everyone's here.
Thank you. We will now, the next item on our agenda, Superintendent's report. Ms. Wilson.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, members of the community. Thank you for your attention and patience. This is the board's special meeting to consider the district's request for approval to move its headquarters location from 2 Cedar Street to 765 Broad Street. The terms and conditions have been presented at the prior meeting, which was a public hearing, which allowed the community to comment, and all board members were present. The board has been polled and has indicated that it does not need a repeat presentation. Madam Chair?
Thank you. So the order of business for the evening is that we will now open up the floor to public participation. We're using the rules that we use at our business meeting, which is a maximum of 10 speakers for a maximum of 3 minutes. You will hear a a bell, a chime. You will hear something after 2 minutes, which means that you have 1 minute left. And at the second sound, that means that your time is up. We want to ask everyone to please adhere to that time restraint. Is there anyone who wishes to speak who has not signed up, who did not know what the rules were and wanted to sign up? Okay, Ms. Holder, I will put you on the list.
I'm on the list. I signed up.
Oh, okay. No, I thought I was saying, was there anyone additional? Thank you. Okay. First speaker.
Before, Madam Chair?
Yes.
I was remiss. Before we begin public participation, I would like to introduce Alex DeJamus, who is our in-house counsel, who has been the legal support on the development and negotiation of our lease. Charlotte Hitchcock is our general counsel, who also conferred, but Mr. DeJamus is our lead attorney.
Thank you very much. Ms. Holder?
Thank you. Good evening. I'm going to first say that I think this has been a very disrespectful process as far as the board and the community is concerned, to know that the board members have not looked at all the locations nor reviewed all the leases, and you're asking them for a vote tonight. Second of all, it was indicated by Ms. Wilson that the broker's fee was not being paid by the district, but the broker's fee most likely is built into the rent and amortized over the period of the lease, because no one's working for free in America. So someone's getting paid a commission for this rental arrangement. Second of all, you said the first year rent is free. No, again, I believe it's probably amortized in the lease payments that we'll be making over the course of our occupancy into whatever space you go. There's no such thing as free rent. Number 2, I do have someone in the race. I have little scholars in the race. They're now in elementary school. And I'd like to think that you would instead consider going into a school. I don't care about your convenience or inconvenience. Let me be quite clear. When 33 kids are sitting in a classroom without Chromebooks, without educators, without art, without the opportunities to have field trips, I don't care if you sit in a box and do your job. Okay? What we need to do is make sure we get the best deal for our children, our scholars. And one of them is to use one of the buildings you currently own. Why can't you go into Harold Wilson? That's being used for workshops, seminars, et cetera, and it is ADA compliant. Why don't you use that one Newark Enrollment Center, my old West Kennedy Junior High School? That's another option. You have so many options. Had you come to the community in a timely manner, we could have addressed and helped you find a viable option so that we're not spending unnecessary money. We have an $80 million hole this year in the budget. And you really want us to spend more money? Yes, we do have to leave this building. We should have left this building years ago. We should have bought this building if we could have. But the point now, to go with the 765, 33, university, I don't care. I think you need to go into the school. That's what we need you to do. Go into a school building. Take yourselves where it is cost efficient. And that's the most you can do to help my little scholars who will be in high school during the course of this lease. I don't care what you say. The evidence shows that people are getting paid, and again, our children are being robbed, and our board members are being disrespected. We elected you to serve me. Yes, you serve me and my grandchildren. Yes, you do. So I need you to make an intelligent decision. I don't have any friends. I don't care if I don't have any friends. But what I care about is respecting you do right by my grandchildren.
Thank you. Next speaker, Charles Love.
Hello, everybody. How y'all doing today?
Good evening.
Good evening.
So, I wasn't real knowledgeable about a lot of the proceedings. So, I had to Google some of these terms because I was like, what is going on? But I'm just thinking about and I was talking to Miss Holder about maybe using Spencer, you know? Clinton Avenue was right there, 78. That's a nice pathway, you know? I know a lot of people probably wouldn't like to go over the Speedway, but our kids are traveling around the city right now in foreign neighborhoods. So a moratized loan is a loan with scheduled periodic payments that consist of both principal and interest. And moratized loan payments pays the relevant interest expense for the period before any principal paid and reduced. And I'm sitting here having a conversation about expenditures, and we're going into a deficit. And then we'll be blaming charter schools. We'll be blaming, these people out of the mountains that come out here and take all of our money. But I think that it's imperative that today we make a decision, an informed decision, where we give our board members time tonight. I don't think it's fair for them to make a 23rd hour decision now. I think it's important that we get back to the community, and if you ask us for our input, and we bring in multiple different variances of this, but I don't feel like it's something that we should take just tonight. We should rush and take it, and I feel like we're putting our students and our communities at danger right now. That's a lot of money to be talking about, and we already know how much money we're expected to be going into debt next year. So I feel like I don't want to, get you off of doing what you have to do, but as Ms. Holder said, we have children. And we have a community who are interested in doing the best for them. So God bless you. Make the right choice. Believe in love.
Thank you. Next speaker, I don't know if it's Janice or Janice Afolo.
Yes,
Janice Afolo. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good
Good evening.
As having my daughter who taught in the city of Newark for 9 years, and I just want to tell you that she was at 14th Avenue, 15th Avenue, and the school supplies. She bought most of them. The books, they were not that great. And here we are talking about moving into 765 at about 43 or whatever million dollars. That brings a little concern to me. Also, I'm wondering about the transparency of this board and the figures and the numbers. When I heard one person, I believe Mr. Hart or someone from Hart's, state that there was we were off by $10 million. The figures were off by $10 million. Yes, there was clarity to that comment, but it still puts, as in a court of law, a reasonable doubt in my mind as to what is the truth or not. So I am asking that the board have enough time to look at what actually is in black and white, and for there not to be any gray in between down the road. We talk about 12 months of rent. As being a former property manager and a regional property manager, yes, I know how to do that 12 months of rent and incur it in someone else's rent. I also understand it's like when you advertise, you get 2 months free rent. I can make a 13-month lease. I can make a 14-month lease. All I'm stating is that I am having some kind of reasonable doubt as to what is true or facts. Or as Kelly Conway states, what are the alternative facts? Thank you.
Thank you. That ends I'm sorry, yes, Ms. Wilson.
That ends all speakers, right?
Yes,
Okay. Can I speak now?
yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, members of the community. Thank you for your public participation. Ms. Holder, I do realize that there is no free lunch in America. I'm quite clear on that. And I do understand that if we have a 16-year lease, the landlord is not necessarily benevolent and will give us free rent totally free without working that into the lease. But what we should understand is even with that term of a year at no cost to the district, even if it's included along with the broker's fees, our particular lease arrangement is 50% less than we currently pay now. You talked about the $80 million hole. There is no $80 million hole for the district. We have had a gap each year. This district has not been in deficit. Deficit is when you've spent all your money and you have no money. We have had gaps. Last year we had a gap of 86 million. This year we had 75 million, but we were able to cover those gaps. The deficit becomes when the district has no funds available. That is not the case. So the $80 million hole that you talk about, the $2 million in savings is in fact going back into the district's budget for use in classes, because the $4 million of our lease, $4.9 million of our lease, is included in the district's budget. It is not additional funding. So the 50% reduction is in fact a return to the district's budget. You talked about our using a school. 301 West Kinney was the school we considered. It has a building envelope problem, as everyone knows, because there is currently scaffolding around that. You will remember last fall that the masonry fell off. Thank God it did not fall on any passerby. The SDA, which is the School Construction Authority for the state of New Jersey and represents what are known as SDA districts, formerly known as Abbott, is responsible for construction in district schools, whether it is new construction. We have not had a capital budget since I have been here. We have not had a maintenance budget since, in fact, not since I've been here, let me say since 2005, which I think was when we first discussed a 5-year long-range facilities plan. We are now 11 years into that plan. Newark has not received the schools that it was promised and was agreed to, as we discuss here on a frequent basis. Neither have we received the repairs. The SDA will not repair West Kinney if we occupy it as a central office. That school is slated for a facade replacement, for window replacements, and if I remember correctly, and I don't see Mr. Barton, I think he stepped out, possibly a roof replacement. All of those, have I missed any projects, Keith? All of those will occur under SDA funding. And Keith, have those projects been approved or are they waiting for approval? That project's approved, right? They've committed dollars to that. If we move in there as a central office, we will own the repairs, we will own the cost, and they will step away with those funds, which may not necessarily be restored to Newark. You talk about Harold Wilson. Harold Wilson is a building that will be occupied by staff. The security and facilities staff will be located at that building. We will relocate our warehouse and motor pool operation that is currently at Railroad Avenue property to Harold Wilson. So it will be an operational building that will be fully occupied along with our trade shops, carpentry, plumbing, all of those things. I did say that SDA can only be used for schools. I'm sorry, right? So that answers your questions, Ms. Holder, and thank you for your comments. Mr. Love, you again also talked about deficits. Once again, I reiterate for this district, it is illegal for the district to be in a deficit situation, and it can cause me as the SBA to, one, be prosecuted, and two, removed. We are not in a deficit situation. We have a gap. In terms of Louise Spencer, that is, in fact, a school that is currently fully occupied. In fact, there are two schools in that location right now, Louise A. Spencer and Miller Street, which has been relocated there. Ms. Alfalo, I want to be sure that I pronounce your name correctly, ma'am. You indicated that school supplies, books, and all of those costs have not necessarily been met in the manner in which we would want them to. Once again, I reiterate that the $4 million that we are dividing in half to move into 765 Broad with a 50% savings is something that is currently in the district's existing budget. So we are reducing operating expense with something that is budgeted already. It is not additional funds. Once again, rent can be incorporated into a lease term, but the rent that we are paying is still less than we are paying at this point in time. The figures are available for people to see. They are in the presentation. We are a public entity subject to OPRA, Open Public Records Act. So I have nothing to hide, and it is not beneficial to me to present incorrect information to my community. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is votes. There are two resolutions. I'm going to first read both resolutions, then I'm going to ask Mr. DeJamis or Ms. Wilson, whoever would, to explain the resolutions. Is that okay? What do you want to, go ahead.
I want to say to the board that there are two resolutions because of the process that is required for the district to enter into a lease. We are a state-operated district. Our lease requires the public hearing that we had earlier this afternoon. It requires approval by the advisory board. It then requires approval by the local finance board, who we will present to in Trenton on February 7th. And it requires approval by the State Board of Education and the commissioner. So in terms of that, all of those processes will be moving forward. So one resolution speaks to the local finance board, and then the board itself must approve the lease agreement as you would as a normal practice of business. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So I will read both resolutions, and if further explanation is needed, that can be given, and if not, we'll open up the floor for discussion by the board. So the first resolution, and these have to be voted on separately, but I'll read them both. The first resolution, 6.1, resolution to make application to the local finance board pursuant to NJSA 18A 20-4.2 E4 for approval of a commercial office lease agreement for a term of 16 years with New Jersey Urban Realty Partners, LLC, for the leased premises located at 765 Broad Street in the city of Newark. That ends the first resolution. The second resolution, 6.2, authorization for Newark Public Schools to enter into a commercial office lease agreement for a term of 16 years with NJ Urban Realty Partners, LLC, for the leased premises located at 765 Broad Street in the city of Newark to relocate the district's central administrative and executive offices. So is there anything else further that you think that you would like to say regarding?
Just to explain or to clarify the need for the two resolutions. Subject to or pursuant to NJSA 18A:20-4.2 E4, it speaks to the district's requirement to make an application for approval of this lease to the Commissioner of Education and to the local finance board. So this resolution would simply be a direction from the board to submit the application to the local finance board. As to 6.2, that is the resolution for the board to give approval to enter into the lease concept itself.
Thank you.
And the latter is relates to NJAC 6A:26-10.11.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So floor is now open, board members. If you have any discussion or any questions for board members with discussion, not question, I would ask you to please, in respect to everyone's time, please limit the time on those pronouncements. So board members, question, comment?
Madam Chair?
Yes. Mr. Padilla. Mr. Padilla.
First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. Members of Hearts Mountain Group, 765, the Burger Group, the community, my beloved councilwoman, who I have a great respect for, Ms. Valerie Wilson, who did a phenomenal presentation tonight on this lease agreement. I looked at this quite extensively, and the only thing that I really found with all of this is that any which way, the district always saves money. One, when you look at the terms of 4.955 versus 2.365, it's over a $2 million savings. When you look at the no cost on district expenses, on tenant electric, that's a savings of $746,000 per year. When you look at the aspect of moving, going there, they're gonna gut the whole place out, take it apart, build it to the way we want, building boardrooms, workspaces, cafeteria, common areas, all at no cost to the district. Third thing, we get to move there with a turnkey. We just walk right in. The other thing that I looked at is the terms of the lease. 16 years, not 20, with 1 year, am I correct, Ms. Wilson, by saying this, that we adamantly really are getting 1 year's free rent? For the record, I would like to answer that. Okay? So it's savings all the way across for the district. In my opinion, as a board member, I've never seen such an offer being put out for any property, ever, here in the city of Newark. And I've been a Newark resident my whole life. As a former business owner downtown, I know how these big corporations have come in and all these property owners want to get you into these leases, but this, to me, in my opinion, is a very, very positive thing for our district. And I think the terms as to what we're looking at have been clearly defined by our BA, Ms. Wilson, tonight. And as we move forward on this, I see nothing but something positive for the district. Thank you.
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair.
Yes, Ms. Carter.
So earlier it was mentioned that it's not our jobs as board members to get into the weeds of this. And while I understand that it is our job to vote on it, so therefore I feel that it's the district's obligation to make sure we're well versed. We haven't received this information until today. We haven't seen the terms of the contract. Those are things that I need to see to be able to make an informed vote. While I understand we are saving money in all options. I don't appreciate that we were only able to see one building. It would have been nice for us as board members to be able to see the last final 4 choices so that we can then make an informed decision, not only by seeing the choices ourselves, but also seeing and being able to sit down and see what the terms of the contract is. I understand why you didn't do it initially in terms of numbers coming in at the last minute, but if the landlord has put on record that it wouldn't be doubled, and if we can get into a contract saying that the rent will remain the same, are we as a district open to that? And how would that be of a detriment to us to stay here, take our time, and not make a rush decision? As this is, as we are going back into local control, it's important that we make the right decision, as we won't have the state overseeing us.
Good evening to the board, to the community, to our elected officials. Ms. Carter, I do want to make one comment with respect to the question on would it be detrimental for us to stay here? Very brief, without getting into too much of the legalese. Upon the termination of our lease, we go into what people have referred to accurately as a holdover status. What that also means is that as a holdover, the landlord-tenant relationship is severed. So we will be paying whatever would be the amount of, people would say, rent. The legal term for that becomes use and occupancy. So one of the detriments with respect to if we are to remain here is the fact that if we are, or if we enter into any disputes with the current landlord, we are in a very different legal position. We are not viewed as a tenant, and that can have many ramifications going forward. We have innumerable issues here with heat, with leaks, with elevator breakage. And so those would compromise us, and I would submit to you, eventually put us in a greater expenditure of capital if in fact we have to litigate any of those matters. So as general counsel I represent, there is a severe detriment if we remain here in a holdover status.
So thank you for that. So this goes to my point, as we should have had these conversations prior to today to lay this out on the table so that when we came today, we knew all of those factors, and then we can then move forward to make an informed decision.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Board, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, Vice Chair Fonseca.
Somebody wanted to go first. Did somebody want to go?
I'm sorry, did someone else have their hand up? Yes, Ms. Wilson.
Ms. Carter, thank you for your comments. And we have had this conversation, and I will respond as I have responded privately. In the negotiations of lease terms, we did enter into negotiations with 4 finalists. We did ensure that the board would visit the last finalist. Your points are well taken and noted. We acted in what we thought was the best interest of the district and the board. Okay.
Ms. Fonseca.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Councilwoman. Thank you for taking out from your day to be here with us. First and foremost, let me just state that what I have to share is a statement. It's not open for dialogue. I would appreciate that. I just, don't want to extend the time here. First and foremost, let me say that this isn't personal. This is principle. So my role here is based off of principle. Every decision that I make is a decision that is in the best interest of the people we represent, not only in the community, but every single child in this district. Whether they're my kid or not, we are here to represent them. While I understand that the superintendent made a statement about us not being involved with the day-to-day decisions, and I understand that it's not our role to interfere with the day-to-day operation, I do understand that I have an obligation to the people in this city to make informed decisions. I'm not sure how anyone else makes decisions, but I know that my decisions impact an entire generation. So when I make a decision, I need to be very wise on the decisions that I'm making. And for clarification, it's not about this building that I'm making this statement. It's more so in a general aspect, because there have been many situations where we're required to vote on items, and it's brought to us at the moment that it needs to be voted on. And I've been saying it since I got on this board. So again, it is not about this building. It's more so of if we're entering into the process of local control, as we're all here fighting for and we're working diligently with the district, then we need to be well informed because we need to be prepared. We will be the governing body at that point. Because we don't have that ability right now doesn't mean that we cannot be prepared for that time. And just like children, it takes time to learn things, and we need to be well aware and be well informed so that we can learn as we move along. So, and that's not to take away from Ms. Val. I think you're a professional, and any question I've come to you with, you've been more than helpful. And I do want to say that the superintendent has made tons of dedication in bringing in money to the district and doing a lot of work. So again, this is not personal, this is principle. I cannot support this resolution for many reasons. And one of them is the fact that we were given this information today with the breakdown. We were made aware that we were going to have to move out of this building, or that it was in the best interest to move out of this building, but we were not informed on how the process works. Now, I can put on my municipal government hat and say how it works, but that's not my role here. My role here is a board member, so I want to know it as a board member. We were given the options of based on what was their final decision on what they thought was best, but how do we know that we did actually look for the best option? Also, I believe that when we're making decisions like this of this term, this very long term, we need to think about where are we headed in the future. I live in the Central Ward. It's the area in the city that is booming. So why can't we own property in the area that is booming in this city, where in the future we'll be able to generate revenue for our children in our district? Because when you own something, you can have a larger impact. So now we're not only going to have people, we can have a whole building where we can house everybody. And if we can't build to fill or own to have everyone there, we can eventually build to have everyone there. We need to think long term. We need to think the future of this district. We're growing. We're not getting smaller. Everybody wants to come to Newark. This city is just doing great right now. So we need to think like that. I'm not sure what all the details are for the people that came out tonight, what you guys proposed. And I do understand that numbers were submitted at the last minute, but I believe that if we had time to digest this information, maybe it would have given you all the opportunity to give us a better price. That's not guaranteed, but it's something we can throw out there. So I'm just putting all that on the table to say that I cannot support something while it looks like a temporary fix and a temporary help in our budget and all that stuff. I just don't see it long-term benefiting the district. And that's just my opinion. And again, I just want to be very clear that I will no longer take sitting here making decisions that are last minute. I'm not going to do it anymore. That's just my stand on it, and we can take it from there. But it's not about interfering with the day-to-day operation. It's about being well-educated and understanding and being able to make a true commitment. We're not going to know everything. I'm not claiming to know everything. I'm not claiming to want to know everything, but I do want to learn, and I want to make decisions that are best for not only the kids that are in school now, but the kids that are coming in the future, because we're not going anywhere. We have to have a building for our staff, and I understand that. So I just wanted to be very clear on that, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yep.
Yes, I'm sorry.
We
I
have
think it was Mr. Jackson and then
Ms. Wilson.
Ms. Wilson, you want to respond? Allow Ms. Wilson to respond, and then Mr. Jackson and Mr. Lewis.
Ms. Carter and Ms. Fonseca, thank you for your comments. We did, in fact, review the same spreadsheet that you are seeing today after our budget committee meeting on Tuesday. So I just want to put that on the record, too, and we had a discussion on it.
I would also like to add that no amount of additional information will change the objective fact that the funds for purchasing a building are not available, and that the deal that is in front of you today is a deal that allows for the purchase of the building. That is not a question of timing or having additional information. That's simply a simple, provable, unarguable fact. And that a decision not to move forward on this schedule will, in a objective, unarguable, absolute way, cost the district money and cost people jobs. I do not think that saying that more time is needed to get additional information from the potential bidders is an accurate reflection of the process Ms. Wilson has run. This process has been going on for months and months and months. Bidders have been given the opportunity to refine, adjust, and revise their deals, and they have done that. We've been under the guidance of lawyers to make sure that there was an equal opportunity to do that. So, as much as I want to agree with you about additional time, we advised the board that this was our intention. We went through a process that was a private process when that was required, and is a public process when that is required. Additional time, additional information as an abstract goal is entirely sensible and compelling and reasonable. In this particular case, I would suggest it would not be material to the decision. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I just need to clarify something.
Okay.
And I'm done after this. Ms. Wilson did state that she did show us this information at the meeting. Let me just be very clear so everyone is aware. It was shown to us at our budget committee meeting, which is only 4 board members. And that information was brought to our attention because we requested to have a minimal discussion on the building. It was not something that was part of the agenda, and it was not something that the entire forum was going to be made aware of at that moment because it was still in negotiations. And while I respect that 100%, that there was still information that was being worked out, and I understand that it takes time. I just want to be very clear that it's not misunderstood here, what I am stating, that we are all being given this information like this tonight. It was not given to us in advance. It was shown to us briefly, but it was not to this extent. So I just want to be very clear, and the budget committee meeting was on Tuesday evening. I don't want there to be any misinformation on my end so that I'm not misquoted.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. I'm sorry, could it be brief so we can move to the next speaker?
It is, okay.
Thank
So in conjunction to that, yes, we were shown at my request after the budget meeting, which I asked for us to sit down and talk about this. While we were shown the numbers, what I'm saying we should have been shown is the terms of the contract. We were not made aware how much parking would be provided by each. We were not made aware who was offering the first year free of rent. We were not made aware what those terms were in the contract. In order to make an informed decision, we need a lot more than just the numbers, because the numbers may look a certain way depending on what each person is offering. And so as a board, it is our right to have that information ahead of time and have time to sit with it and process it versus getting it today. Today, we're still not seeing the terms of the contract. You're giving us numbers and asking us to vote.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson, and then Mr. Lewis. Excuse me, this is not public participation. We're going to ask people to please refrain from yelling out, and the profanity is inappropriate. Thank you. Mr. Jackson.
Thank you. Really quickly, good evening, everyone. Good evening to all our dignitaries in the audience, and good evening to my fellow board colleagues and district staffers. With all that being said, as we look at local control, I can remember in meetings where we were told, oh, you're going to have local control, you're going to have more responsibilities. So with that being said, I kind of feel like the district didn't trust the board to make a sound decision. I understand it might not be true. That's just how I'm personally feeling. With that being said, the information, the walkthrough that I received with regards to 765 Broad Street does not sound like a bad idea. It is a saving effort. It does offer the district more flexibility. It adds parking, and it's a lot more technology in terms of the building already has a whole floor dedicated to servers that can enhance our technology in the district. But with that being said, I'm going to also have to agree with Madam Cheneyfield when she said, how about we just take a deep breath and breathe for a second. One thing I hate doing is rushing and making a last minute deal at the clock reaching midnight, so to speak. and you make a decision, you make a vote, and then you go home and you say to yourself, what could have been? What if this? What if I would have looked at that? What if I was presented with this? So I'll say that to say, what would be the ramifications to look at other options, to view possibly going to another school? I understand that we've talked about the cost going in excess of $40 million to rehabilitate some school sites to accommodate central office. Also understand that with moving to 765 Broad Street, we will be moving a lot of offices out of central office as we speak, to send them to work sites such as Harold Wilson. But just for entertainment's sake, if you will, sorry to use that word, but what would it look like if we say no to 765 Broad Street and look at a current school that's not occupied?
They don't want to go to 494.
Ms. Wilson?
In terms of going into a school, at this point, without a space planning, I can't say to you that a specific school can fit all of our staff. I've got 300, not in the way that a school exists today, right? Because it's a series of classrooms that, not that you're going to do serious or significant demolition, but you're going to have to make some modifications. So let's talk about West Kinney that we looked at, right? West Kinney,
Yeah. Excuse me. Can we please stop the disruption so that the board members can hear? Thank you.
let's talk about West Kinney that we looked at a couple of years ago. We looked at West Kinney. The building envelope, I know, needs to have a new skin put on. And when we looked at the school, I want to be clear for the community and the board that we looked at the least expensive options to be able to occupy the building, right? So one of the and I have the plans in my office, not a problem. One of the alternatives we looked at was to put a new skin on the building to provide a safe and water-free envelope, right? We then looked at how would we be able to heat appropriately and potentially air condition the office. We did that using an underground option, which would allow us to bring heat up through the floor, would prevent us having to do duct work and remove ceilings, possibly deal with roofing issues, etc. We also looked at a phased plan to put staff into the building. So we would put staff into one segment of the building. We'd renovate one segment, put staff in there, renovate another segment, move that staff in, then bring another series of staff in. And I think, I don't remember correctly, but I would say that that was a multi-year effort. That is the plan that I was talking about in terms of it costing upwards of that kind of money, which includes the fit out, the lighting, the HVAC work that would need to be done, the building envelope work that would need to be done at costs back then. It also would include, I just lost my train of thought, but it would include all of those kinds of things that would be necessary. My thought was that pretty close to that time when we were looking at that next winter was when the facade fell off of 301 West Kinney. So I can speak to West Kinney because that's something that we actively looked at. I cannot speak to any other building, but I will say that under the previous superintendent, when we talked about moving into schools, I did have a conversation to say how many schools would be appropriate for us to move in for a central office, because I think when you manage operations, you need to have an ability to move back and forth between the locations you have. So in her opinion, she felt 3 was good. I think that's too many to spread your central operation out in. I think you need to put it in no more than 2, because then people spend time traveling back and forth and you lose staff productivity. In terms of Harold Wilson, we are moving departments, and it is only 2 departments, security and facilities. We looked at and Motor Pool is in Railroad Avenue, which is awful. We own that property and we need to sell it and help it offset some of the costs of creating space for Motor Pool at Harold Wilson. And that would mean putting up some type of modular to accommodate motor car repairs and things of that nature. Not a big building and big construction and design. Those departments were looked at as potential candidates to move to Harold Wilson so that because they don't have a large number of external customers, so like students, parents, people like that who come to them. So the departments that have that would be located at our central office location, wherever we decide.
So I just want to add that I can represent to you that there is not an alternative within the existing property of the Newark Public Schools that would be available on anywhere near the timeline or would be cost effective. And I think the judgment you'll need to make is whether you believe that this executive team considered those possibilities and shares what I'm sure is your view, that we want to find the most cost-effective, the most efficient approach to this. So these are very sensible ideas in the abstract. They have been considered and have proven not to be, in our judgment, in the best interests of the students and employees of the district.
Mrs. Scott.
Thank you. If I can just make one other note, please, with respect to the potential ruling out of schools, to remind the board that not just the individual personnel that we have in terms of, our human move that would happen with people picking their things up and moving. We have a tremendous legal obligation. We have records that are under federal statutory requirements of HIPAA. We have student educational records. We have legal files. Being part of the exploration about a year and a half ago of looking at could we actually move into a school, the extraordinary cost of maintaining our records as the custodian with us was just prohibitive. We can't just pick up a box of files and just move it to a location if we can't store it where we're under the control and dominion of that. And the cost of having to store files outside of where we will have our principal place of business is a cost that was extraordinarily prohibitive. So I just would also just remind the board members that we have those obligations with respect to the protection, the confidentiality, and just the safeguarding of critical records that we have, to which we have millions of pieces of paper and files.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis?
I'm
Mr.
sorry,
Jackson?
Just one more point,
Okay.
and then I'll finish. I hear general counsel, I hear school business administrator, and I hear the superintendent. And it's not that I don't have the confidence in the business administrator or the superintendent or general counsel for that matter. But with all of the obligations that the district has to follow state and federal laws, we are also bound as board members to make the best conscious decision as it goes to serving our students in North Public Schools. So that's why I kind of made the comment that I did. Again, personally, after reviewing this information and hearing the cost savings and hearing the terms that we have with the lease, it doesn't sound bad to me. However, some community members have concerns, other stakeholders have concerns, and they want to and need to view all other options. So with that being said, during the tour of 765 Broad Street, we learned about the technology advantage that we already have with the servers and other sort of things already being at that location. Can someone kind of elaborate on that for the public? I don't know if that was already done.
Thanks, Mr. Jackson. 765 Broad was also selected because it has an existing data center. What that existing data center means for us is that we can realize some of the wiring that is present. It already has a raised floor. It already has supplemental HVAC, which comes off, and a backup generator, something we don't have in this building at this point in time. Thanks. And we also have a fire suppression system that's already there, current and up to date, that can be used. Some of the other buildings we looked at did not have a data center, or if they did, it's going to require additional wiring, which 765 Broad will. The proximity of 765 Broad allows us to make use of our investment in our backbone. I'm looking for my CIO in case I missed, thanks Troy, in case I missed something. And the fire suppression is also critical because one of the facilities we looked at has an outdated Ansel system that will have to be replaced. There's sprinkler work that would have to be done in some of the other locations that we looked at, even the finalists. I'm talking about the finalists now. So in terms of that, we can realize some savings by going to 765 Broad because it has a more up-to-date data center. But I do not want the board to think that there will not have to be an investment in the data center. And I want the record to reflect that if we remained at two-seater for any length of period of time, we need to make some updates to our current and existing data center. Mr. Fisher, have I missed anything? Thank you.
And what would that number look like, just real quick, at 765 versus staying here and moving to a whole different facility, such as a school?
And what's the different facility?
I'm sorry, are you referring to a total overall?
So
I'm not sure what your question
So
is.
not to sound crazy and get all off topic, but with investing in the technology, moving into 765 to do some wiring, if you will, not to the extent that it would need to if we stayed here, what would it cost to do that at 765 versus staying here versus moving to, hypothetically, say a school?
Because we haven't done a final lease yet, I can't say to you I have total and full numbers. Our CIO has had an opportunity to visit all of the locations that we've talked about. The realm of moving a data center and, and putting it down is in the realm of somewhere between 2.5 to 3.5 million, regardless of where you go. Hold on. Turn on your mic, Troy.
That school facilities, if we decided to go to the building in which we investigated Harold Wilson, the biggest issue around that is creating the data center itself, which means that there's a structure element that doesn't exist in the other properties. The other properties, for the most part, at least have the structural element to be able to build a data center. If you did it in a school that was never designed for that space, you would increase the cost for building out the structural element.
And let me also add that the negotiation over an expense of not having a lease payment for the first year of a lease term was a method or strategy to offset the cost of the investment, because we only have half that money in our budget to offset the investment in replacing our data center with an upgrade.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis?
So, thank you. Thank you for everyone coming out today, all our elected officials, all our community folks. And I just want to say on the record that Newark Public Schools have the best BA in the state of New Jersey, and Valerie Wilson, and I have confidence in her, 1,000%, and that's a fact, and I'm willing to put that on the record. So I wanted to say that Ms. Wilson have been more than cooperative with us. The operations committee was notified at our last month meeting. We then reported out and told the board that we was notified about the move and details was to come. Ms. Wilson put out an email to the board members, asking the board members to come and tour the building. I, at one point, was the only person that reached back out to her, and I was the only one at first that reached out to her, then others reached out to her as well. So let me say, I was the first, and the tour of the building, the property. I asked questions about the layout. The architect, along with our staff, was very open to opinions, suggestions on how to make things better for our community. We toured each floor. We looked at where everything will go. And since someone brought up building a future for tomorrow, let's talk about that. On the second floor is the state-of-the-art equipment. And we're talking about tomorrow. We're talking about technology. We're talking about data. We're talking about building. We're talking about equipment that will help our children equip educationally. And that second floor is equipped for that, right? I also, at the time when we talked about moving, suggested going into a building, to a school building. Ms. Wilson looked at that option. She told us the reason why we couldn't go into a school building. She told us the flaws that we had. I've been saying from the moment I got on this board that we need to sue the SDA for how they destroyed this district and how they robbed us blind. No one wanted to step out. Nobody wanted to take on that challenge. Now we're faced here today with a decision to make, and we're talking about 50% saving, right? Not only are we talking about 50% saving, but we're talking about labor that we will free up some of our custodian workers, put them back into schools to do labor work, to make sure that our schools are cleaner than they are. We're also talking about reducing staff. We're talking about, and I even pitched this to the administration, that in our student support center, in our new building, that we need to also make sure that there's someone that represents each department that's not in our building. If we need someone that's going to represent facilities, we need somebody that's going to represent food service, security, so that when a parent comes to the new building, they will get all their issues handled right there at our new space. So I am sold on this new building. I love the new project. Like I said, I will prefer going into a school building as well, but it's just not the option right now. And we have to do what's best right now to save dollars, to make sure that those dollars go back into the classroom.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Ms. Gaddy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I, too, want to thank Val, for our BA, for that presentation. I, too, sit on operations. We were informed that operations, we didn't know the exact location or the building because she felt as though she couldn't give that information out when she briefed us last month with all of the pertinent information and the details. And one thing that I strive each and every month when I come out to these meetings for as a board member is understanding that we have to balance the discussion of the seemingly tedious business of running the district while paying close attention to the district priorities for academic achievement. And we got to stop letting static prevent us from doing what's right by our children. My son is in this district. He attends Arts High. I'm proud of that. I'm a graduate of this district. We put the interests of the children before the politics on this board, or we should. And we need to begin as board members to really take heed to that so we could continue to be successful and move this district forward. Presentation has been made by the BA, and I know this is just something that we as board members, and I've been talking about this for 3 months, we have these committee meetings. We need to go back to board as a whole so we can actually report out an executive session as to what's going on in these committees, because I'm not privy to what's going on in personnel. I'm not privy to what's going on in finance, but I am privy to what's going on in operations. I am privy to what's going on in the committee that I'm also on for community engagement, and with Leah as the chair of instruction. And I think that it's important that we do that as board members and understand that not everything, if you have some questions because you're not in those other committees, we have to take ownership of that for ourselves and let us speak for ourselves and not other people. So I thank you, Ms. Wilson, for the presentation, and I support the proposed site. I like the opportunity for the Science to Science project to be located in that building and the opportunities that will be afforded to our children, and also the fact that we are looking at the community engagement piece. So when parents come to the board, they don't have to be jumping all around this district. Everything that our parents need, they can have addressed, because that is what is unfair. Put the needs of the parents first. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. I'd like to see if there are any board members who haven't spoken who would like to speak first. Ms. Carter. Yes. Ms. Owens.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My comments are just real quick. I just do want to put on the record that, like other board members have stated, I do have the utmost confidence in Ms. Wilson's ability to present the information and to do due diligence. If there's, only a handful of folks I can say that about, but I feel confident saying that about her. I do, however, have deep concerns, again, like other board members have said, about this process and how we do and do not get information. But I think Board Member Gaddy's last comments about the way that this board works is really a part of the root issue in terms of communication. So those are some things that I think we need to talk about moving forward. I think this is a good move for the district into this new space, but we have to talk about this communication piece, because moving into local control this is not going to work. It's not going to work for myself as a board member, and I know that it's not working for the board as a whole. So we need to improve the communication, and that's just pretty much what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any board members who would like to speak who haven't spoken yet? Yes, Mr. Sellinger.
I just want to say, when I bought my house 35 years ago, I didn't look at one house. I looked at a lot of them.
That's what you should do.
And I appreciate what Superintendent Seraph and everybody's doing, but I would have liked to see the other properties. I would have liked to see other things. So I just want to say for the record, I would have liked to be part of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sellinger. Any other board members who haven't spoken yet who would like to speak? Ms. Carter?
In all due respect, I think as a board, we're making this about Ms. Wilson. It isn't about Ms. Wilson, and it's not about her not giving us the information. The politics we need to look into is why we as board members were not fully informed of what's going on. We talk about politics, we need to know why we weren't at the table, why we couldn't go see 321 University, 33 Washington. In terms of it was reported to the operations committee. Yes, you did report out. However, you did not get all the information and said it was forthcoming, and it came today partially. So in terms of us it was pointed out personnel, and I'm the chair of personnel. As committee chairs, we do report out. We are open whenever there's a question. You can email us. We talk about it in committees. So I don't want the impression to be out there that we're not communicating with one another about what's happening in committees. Yes, it was discussed in a committee, but the information was not given to you in that committee. Therefore, you did not report out to us on the information. And it's simply not about a person not doing her job and not giving us information when asked. She has worked with us. Yes, I agree. However, this is about the principal. As Crystal said earlier, we should have been able to see all the properties so that we can make an informed decision. We should have been able to know what the terms of the contract was before tonight so that we can make an informed decision.
Yes, that's what it's about.
Thank you. Are there any other board members who wish to speak at this time before we call the question? Is there readiness to call the question on the first resolution?
What's the question? Question.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there a motion?
Motion by Mr. Lewis.
Mr. Lewis makes the motion. This is on agenda item 6.1.
Second.
second by Mr. Padilla. Board members, there are two motions in front of you. This is a vote. Yeah, this is it, right. This is a vote on the first one. This is agenda item 6.1, resolution to make application to the local finance board. Roll call, Ms. Carter.
No.
Vice Chair Fonseca.
Nope.
Ms. Gaddy.
Yes.
Mr. Jackson.
No.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Ms. Owens.
Yes.
Mr. Padilla.
Yes.
Mr. Salinger. Chair Bashful Richardson.
Yes.
Ms. Owens, you're a yes, right? I have 5. Motion passes. Ms. Gaddy. Lewis. No, the next one needs 6. Next one needs 6. Okay, next item is vote on resolution on agenda item 6.2. This is authorization for the Newark Public Schools to enter into the commercial office lease agreement for a term of 16 years. Now, this motion pursuant to Reg 6A 26 10.11 requires an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the full membership. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Lewis?
Second.
Is that Mr. Padilla? Okay, again, this is the motion on item 6.2, moved by Mr. Lewis, second by Mr. Padilla. Ms. Carter?
No.
Vice Chair Fonseca?
Nope.
Ms. Gaddy?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
No.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Padilla?
Yes.
Mr. Selinger?
No.
Chair Bashful Richardson?
Yes.
4, 5. I have 5 yeses, 2, 3, 4 noes. The motion does not pass.
Wait, Madam Chair.
We need 6 votes.
Just,
We need 6
yes,
yeses
Ms.
on that.
Carter, you have a question?
So for this one, the first one there were 5. The second one, so the first one you needed 5. The second one you needed 6.
That's correct.
Okay, so the second one didn't pass. The first one did.
Right.
Yes. So,
So how does that work?
That's what I think that we will need explained to the board. Is there an ability to explain that? Thank you. Excuse me, this is not public participation.
As requested, the explanation is that the regulation 6A:26-10.11.
Excuse me, board members. Excuse me, board members. Thank you.
The explanation is that the approval of the board requires a majority of its members. I'm sorry,
Affirmative vote of
2/3.
2/3. Yeah.
2/3 majority of its members pursuant to NJAC 6A:26-10.11C. The submission of this approval to the local finance board is a simple majority. That's why it was 2 separate resolutions.
I think, Mr. James, I think the question is
Without
The
without
question
the
is,
2/3
yeah.
majority, the board does not approve the entry of the lease. So there's no need for submission to the local finance board.
Ms. Wilson, did you want to add
Mr.
commentary?
James sort of added it at the end. Let me provide clarity for the board. As the attorney indicated, we need, typically when a resolution passes, 5 members are sufficient of a 9-member board to pass the resolution. Therefore, the approval of the application to the local finance board received 5 votes, which was sufficient to allow us to submit to the local finance board. What we were going to submit to the local finance board was the lease and its terms. By statute, the approval of a lease requires a 2/3 majority of our board, which would be 6 votes. There are 5 votes. The motion did not carry. Therefore, we have nothing to present to the local finance board, so it nullifies the first resolution. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. The floor is now open for old and new business. Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
I have a comment. I would
There is a motion on the floor to adjourn. Superintendent, I would,
I didn't pull the trigger fast enough.
according to
We can
Robert's rules,
Who put the motion?
you
Just
know.
Yeah, can we,
If that's the way you want to run it.
I'll
be my
withdraw
guest.
my
Well,
motion.
I do run a meeting.
I
I'll withdraw my
Okay,
motion.
so
Mr. Lewis,
the
you withdraw your
is
motion.
withdrawn.
Go ahead, Superintendent.
I just want to express my view that the disapproval of this vote is injurious to the children and the district. And while I appreciate the advice of this advisory board, the matter is now under consideration. Thank you.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Meeting adjourned. Have a nice night.
Lewis and Gas.